Hey everyone, my name is Tegan, welcome back to TandeWrites. This is the first video of the new year, so I'm wrapping up my reading for the month of January. January was my most ambitious reading month ever, I believe. I read 13 total books. Usually I read in like the 7 to 10 region, and I credit this mostly to I got a Kindle. I also read very heavily YA contemporary this month, which is a very easy genre for me to consume, so I read a lot of books in like one day, going into 2 days. And I don't really know what happened there. So here are all the books I read in the month of January. There is a slight theme here, as in I was reading novels that would be comparison titles to the book I'm currently working on querying, which is titled There Will Be Other Summers. So they are all kind of in the theme of, again, YA contemporary, kind of sad, mental healthy grief books, in a sense. So there are, what's this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... 6 of these out of the 13 are research reads in a sense, and they basically feature dead sister, dead boyfriend, dead dad, sister who tried to die but is not dead, and best friend who turns out to be dead and is like a ghost. It's a very strong theme here. Tonally, thematically, a lot of these books are relevant to the book I'm querying, but my book, I will say now, my book does not have a prominent dead character. However, I am also getting ideas for the cover, which should apparently be predominantly white and blue and have some kind of ripped up paper on it, which does fit. So this is probably the first month ever where some kind of combination of like adventurous and dark and emotional is not in my top 3 genres or moods according to Storygraph. Emotional is still up there, heavily emotional, but we have sad and we have tense. And then hopeful outranks dark and adventurous. Like, something's going on here. As expected, YA is my top genre, even though it's not a genre, it is an age category, followed by romance, because a lot of these books have like romantic elements. Fantasy, contemporary, not seen her ranking so highly in a while. And then shout out to the singular horror book I read this month. Then average rating of 3.27 stars. One of them was no rating, so it's a competition read, so I can't, express my opinions ahead of competition announcements. A lot of 3.5s. Pretty much all of these contemporaries I read were in like the 3 to 4 regions. So I enjoyed them. Didn't change my life as much as they would have if I read them when I was like 17 and I read All the Bright Places for the first time, which I'm going to reread soon, as again it's a comparison title, and we'll see if it still has that kind of grip on me. I'd love to do a tier list of like every single book that I've called my top book of the year. Just out of curiosity to see if anyone's still hold up. Okay, so let's talk about some individual books. Also, I did cave and order the reading journal from Owl Crate because I didn't get the box that had it in this year. I think it's pretty. Again, pretty much the same content as last time. The calendar's a bit different. Slightly different. That's pretty much the only page I use, so again, I will still be on my quest to create my own reading journal that has pages I use. First book I finished reading was Voice of the Ocean, which is an advanced copy I got from NetGalley in exchange for an honest review. This book was kind of pitched to me as a Pirates of the Caribbean meets The Little Mermaid mashup. So that in theory should have meant that it was made for me, and I was lured in by this pretty cover and this promise of ancient magic and treacherous waters. But I should have admitted defeat and DNF'd it around the 30% mark, which is when our Ariel character became human and I realised that this book was just not for me. And yet I persevered just in case something changed. I wasn't fond of the pacing. The first third really seemed to drag, and then still managed to rush through significant scenes, such as like this book's equivalent of Ariel meeting the Sea Witch for the first time, and I didn't really understand what their deal was. Because obviously in The Little Mermaid, Ariel gives up her voice. But in this book, the character still has her voice, she just chooses not to speak for reasons that I must have like skim read over. Then the actual climax of this book was like squeezed down into a very few chapters, and then it's just like you dragged out so much just to cram the exciting part into a little space. And also like a lot of, like I said, a lot of the important things don't seem to either happen on page or happen in a way that makes sense on page. And the ancient magic, the Voice of the Ocean, which is the title of the book, doesn't appear until like the final 30%, and there is only one kind of treachery in the waters, and this dangerous romance could have been dangerous, but I didn't like understand either of their intentions. And there are a lot of moments I did enjoy where our main character Celeste is discovering the human world and she's learning how to walk because she has a lot of a harder time learning to walk than Ariel does. And there's like little light humour moments where she's kind of like scurrying along the beach like a crab because that's the only thing she's actually seen move. And then once she learns to walk, she realises running is a whole different thing. And I enjoyed her relationship and like the sisterhood with some of the female characters. But again, as Celeste chooses to not speak, I would have thought that got in the way a lot more of her relationship with characters, but they just seem to like telepathically know what she's saying with a look, and it just wasn't for me in the end. I'm kind of conflicted. Do I want to give like an individual review for every single one of these contemporaries I've read? I'm gonna bulk review because I don't have like a huge amount of different things to say about each of them because I read them all in about 1 or 2 days and I read them all back to back, so they kind of blurred together for me, so I don't feel qualified, despite reading them literally last month, to talk about them as individuals. So we have Every Last Word, A Year to the Day, You've Reached Sam, How It Falls to Float, The Words We Keep, and then August and Everything After is kind of crammed on at the end. I read mostly for like slight fun. I knew it was going to be a bit different to my main 5. And as I said earlier, I enjoyed most of them. They're pleasant reads. I read them quickly. I absolutely devoured these books. That's the kind of experience I want someone to have when reading my book. There's a lot of things I looked at and I thought, I see very clearly like the common threads and similarities between these books. And again, how it applies to my own one. So very much reading them as research, but I did enjoy them. Will I think about them again? Maybe not, but again, contemporary isn't like my main genre anymore. I am you can probably tell by my surroundings, very heavily a fantasy reader, and horror has started to consume me recently. So I'm never expecting to go into a contemporary and have my life changed. And I enjoyed all of these. I pretty much just read the description very quickly. I looked at the cover and I thought that feels relevant to me. And then after I finished reading them, it comes within the recommended titles of books that are similar, and I basically just said, yes, these books are similar. But I will be buying physical copies of all of them so I can have like a nice paper-free style flat lay when my book is released. Whether that's traditional or self-published, we don't know yet. That's another video coming next month. I'm kind of jumping around a lot. I also read Vesuvius. Vesuvius is a very hard word for me to say as someone who has struggles pronouncing S sounds and V sounds and F sounds. All the sounds are very hard for me. But I read this as an advanced copy from NetGalley and I will have a review in full coming out in maybe about 2 weeks about this book because I adored it. Don't have a huge amount to say right now because I am... The review's coming. But I think I went into this expecting like, oh, it's going to have a Patroclus and Achilles kind of dynamic. It doesn't, and I'm so glad it doesn't. This is a reimagining of the eruption of Mount Vesuvius and the destruction. I can't talk today. The destruction of Pompeii. But ultimately, the destruction of Pompeii takes a little backseat. This is a story about these 2 broken boys trying to rediscover a missing part of themselves, and I adored it. Reread Divine Rivals via audiobook in anticipation for me reading Ruthless Vows, which is one of the books of my physical TBR for the year. Don't have huge much to say about Divine Rivals, except I think I enjoyed it more the second time around. The first time around, I don't think I understood the hype. I thought, this is a 3.5 star read, and everyone's going to be 5 stars, but reread it at the same time, I get it now. I get it. I understand. Still not 5 stars for me, but it's rounded up to 4 stars. Then reading Ruthless Vows, I think I enjoyed equally for different reasons. Haven't quite processed what those reasons are, as I've just read many a book back to back and can't form thoughts anymore, but enjoyed it greatly. I'm trying to work out where my physical copy is right now. It must be behind these photo frames, but I have the Fairy Loot edition. I'm actually going to find it for you. I will say that out of all the special editions, Owl Crate definitely wins, and I think the US standard covers are just very beautiful as well. The UK covers have the character art on, and not huge on, which is why I went for the Fairy Loot edition, because it still has the character art, but I like it a little bit more than the original one. And look how bronzy and coppery it is. And look at the letters being written and the ink. And the thing that, I think when I got this, I looked at it and I didn't open it until I read it last month. And now I have opened it. Look. Absolutely stunning. And unfortunately, I am someone who reads with a dust jacket on because I can't stand the feel of cloth-bound hardcovers. But it's absolutely beautiful. It's getting stars just for how stunning this is. And look at them. Look at the foiled end paper art. And okay, the back is exactly the same, but just look at it. And the theme of this book is basically like the memory loss amnesia trope, but thankfully my boy Ronan Kit comes out of it quite quickly, because I think the entire book was that. But this is, you know, a romantic fantasy where romance is the main element in this case, which usually not fond of, but sold. I love that just a glimpse of your wife brings you back to regain your memories. Then this month I also read the Paper Forest audiobook, which, if you don't know, is my book, which has recently come out in a whole new format. And if you want to listen to the incredible Harry Dyer read the story to you, it's available in not everywhere yet, because my distributor is slacking. I don't think Audible wants it, but it's on Spotify for you to read for free. It's available to request from libraries. It's on, I don't remember where it actually is, but link in description for it is. So obviously I had to experience reading my own book in 1.75 times speed. Okay, started reading Our Dark Duet but didn't finish it until this month, February, so that'll be coming in next month's thing. I read Thorn and Thorns, which is an indie kind of vampire-y book, as part of the Indie Ink Awards as judging for, I think specifically asexual representation in this one. Thoughts to come, because the competition results aren't out, so I can't talk about it publicly yet, but thoughts to come. And that's also a book I had on like my TBR or my radar for a while, because the cover, gorgeous. Okay, August and Everything After, I lumped it in with the original contemporaries, but it's like a bit too romancy. It does have a dead best friend, but that's like seems to be like a very minor part of the plot until the end. It's more about the girl having a crush on this man who is trying to restart his band and has addiction issues, and like that kind of grief and addiction is more the prominent themes. I enjoyed it, I read it. Probably wouldn't have been a book that I picked up. I think like I remember it coming out and I didn't pick up that because it was a bit too romancy for me. I like my contemporaries, like most of these have more of a focus on like the friendship relationships rather than the romance. And that is what my book is. It is a friendship book. And then Felix Ever After, which is a book that I would have thought I picked up immediately upon release, but haven't till now. And I did really enjoy this one. It's like everything I love about YA, like the sense of humour, the LGBT representation, specifically the trans main character, where their transness is, you know, a very heavy part of their storyline, but they still have a lot of events happening outside of that. It doesn't like take over their plot. They can be a character who is not just defined by their LGBTness. But the cover art with like the top surgery scars showing, again, beautiful. And I really enjoyed this. Again, wouldn't have changed my life as much as like if I read it when it first came out, when I was probably, I don't remember when it came out. Was I a teenager? 1 second. Oh, it came out in 2020, so I was 19. Would have changed my life when I was 19. And that is like a very high compliment I can give a book. And I believe that is everything I read this month. Usually I double check, sometimes I missed a book, but now I'm thinking, I intentionally grouped some books together. And again, it's like, do I want to talk about specific books in too much detail if I'm going to end up comparing like my book done for the rest of my life? I'm so excited for this to like have a life one day. I don't care what it is, it's going to burn to shelves at some point. So yeah, that I believe is every book I read in the month of January. If you read any of these in the description below, let me know. Also, if you have recommendations for books that are, you know, the classic sad YA contemporary, All the Bright Places, I think Radio Silence by Alice Oseman is another one. John Green, but specifically Turtles All the Way Down. Those kind of books, let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!